When I first started editing, I downloaded every single preset I could find. Somehow I just thought if I found the right one, everything would just click. It didn't. Now, after over 10 years of editing for myself, for clients, for campaigns, companies, and all that good stuff, I see things completely differently. The problem wasn't the presets. It was that I didn't understand what I wanted the photo to say. So my friends, in this video, we're diving into why I think photo editing isn't actually hard, it's just misunderstood. I'll break it into simple tips that once understood will instantly make you a better photo editor, even if you're just starting out. Tip number 1. You see, one of the biggest mistakes beginners make is jumping straight into the technical side of editing. I'm talking things like moving sliders around without actually knowing what they are trying to achieve. Things like contrast, exposure, white balance, I mean, all of that is important, but none of it actually matters if you don't first ask yourself, what am I trying to do, or what do I want this photo to feel like? For instance, is this photo supposed to feel warm and nostalgic, maybe cool and moody, or even clean and modern? In my opinion, once you've answered those, then you have an emotional anchor, and every decision that you make afterwards becomes easier. Because, and this is very theoretical, but you're no longer guessing, you're shaping the photo to match the vision that you have in your head. By the way, I made a free 30-day email series. It's just one short tip a day that I can guarantee you will make you a better photo editor. If not, you will get your monies back. It's totally free. It's in the description down below. Anyway, before you touch any slider, then just pause and ask yourself, what is the story here? And then I can guarantee the rest will follow. Let me show you. All right, my friends, so welcome to Lightroom. Now, the first thing that I always do before I touch any slider is to take a long, hard look at the photo. And I ask myself, what is it that I want this photo to say? And how do I want this photo to feel? For instance, this photo right here, when I edited, I decided that I wanted it to be very, very cold and very, very, very moody. Here is one version of it, and here's another one. Because I decided that I wanted to be cold and mysterious, I can base all of my decisions that I make after that onto my vision. You understand? My English is a little bit stumbling right here. But we could just as easily have decided, okay, I want this photo to feel warm and nostalgic and have that retro type of feel. And then we would have to edit it completely differently. Same photo, but different outcome. So in my opinion, it's really, really good if you want your photos to be intentional, that we decide, okay, this photo right here, I want this to be a little bit mysterious. And then I can base my decisions off that. Now, of course, you're free to change your mind afterwards. Maybe you start editing and be like, okay, I want to add some contrast here. We can add the auto. All right, this is cool. And let's make this a little bit more colder. Maybe if we drag down the colors and the greens, wow, this is super cool. But maybe somewhere along the line, you'll be like, you know what? It would actually be really, really cool if this photo just felt a little bit more inviting. Let's add, instead of going to the color grade and we add bunch of blue tones and really, really make this a cold, mysterious vibe. What if we just add a little bit of retro feeling? And we just warm up the shadows, and you get where I'm going with. But I do this to every single photo. Here's a photo too. And for this specific photo, I wanted this to feel a little bit retro, very, very warm and inviting. So you can see I added a ton of warm colors into the shadows, highlights, and midtones. I think I went for in every single shadows you see here, highlights, the midtones, and then highlights as well. So the thing that I'm trying to drive home here is that stop obsessing about just sliders, at least in the beginning and the first phases of the editing, and start thinking about the feeling instead. However, none of this will fully click until you understand one key thing. And it's something that for some reason, many tutorials usually just skip, and we'll dive into that now. It's totally normal to slide things around and experiment, but in my opinion, the difference between an edit that feels polished and then one that feels totally random usually comes down to intent. So before you dive in, ask yourself a set of simple questions. What is the subject here? What do I want people to notice first when they see this photo? And how do I want this photo to feel? I know I talk a lot about feeling, but photography, it's a way to bring out emotion. Or a better word for it would say it's a way to express emotion and get people to feel something when they see your photos. Now, once you got a general direction, even if it's just some simple, cool vibe that you like, your editing becomes much more focused because you're not guessing anymore. You're just exploring, but with purpose. You understand? So sure, don't get me wrong, like move the sliders, play around, but do it with like the photo story and your final vision in mind. And that, my friend, is how you build edits that actually work. Let me show you how. All right, my friend, so we're back in Lightroom. And before, when we were together in Lightroom, we were talking about establishing the feeling and then basing a decision off of that. The next thing that I do is that I take another hard look at the photo and I think to myself, what is the subject here? And then I'm trying to isolate the subject and help bringing clarity to the subject and help viewers being able to see that. So I'm trying to guide the viewer's eyes throughout the frame. And in some photos, it's very like clear what the subject is. This right here, I mean, this little birdie, it's definitely the subject. And then what I would do, I like basing my decision and editing decision on that I'm trying to make that like enhance the visual around it. For instance, I have a bunch of masks around it. So this is what the photo looked without, and this is with. So this is just a bunch of different masks. I have a mask on the bird itself. I have another big here, and these are made to like open up the shadows and guide, like creating more light on it. And then I have other masks to like both in the foreground. I have a mask that is this one here. It's basically, you can see it darkens the foreground ever so slightly. So we're reducing like light there. And then I have another one up here, which I'm adding a bunch of the haze, which also acts, it both brings in a ton of light, but it makes this portion of the photo less noticeable, which helps, you know, make the subject clearer, you understand? But in some photos, the subject isn't as clear enough. So when I started editing this photo, I brightened up like the entire middle, and you can see this is like before and after, and there's like ton happening. And the first thing I did, I was like brightening up the town here. But then I started to think to myself, the town, it isn't the main subject of the focus. I think the subject here is kind of this entire fjord. Now the town is a part of it, but once I had a big mask here that was like brightening that up, it made it very busy. And this photo is already busy. Often I like to have my photos more simple, but this frame, I thought it was really cool. So I was like, okay, we can try to reduce it. So what I did, I just helped the light more here in the middle with the fjord and with the boat and everything. And then I just reduced ever so slightly. It's so subtle, but it made a huge difference in the end. So yeah, establishing like the subject and thinking what the subject is, whether it is this bird or anything in this frame, or for this photo right here, I mean, I think the subject is this little sky. What do you even call this? The lift? But that helps massively when it comes to editing with intent, because now you have a like vision and you have a map that you can follow, you understand? However, even when you're editing with intent, there is still one trap that I see so many editors fall into. And the thing is, although it's subtle, it can still ruin the entire final look of your image without you even noticing. Friends, let's dive into that. By the way, if you like this way of thinking about photo editing and it's really clicking for you, then my friend, you will probably, or you will most likely, or you will love my Lightroom Masterclass. It's basically everything that I learned in the past 10 years of editing, and it's packed into one simple step-by-step course that actually show you how things work and what they do inside of Lightroom Classic. And not only that, it also shows you how to think about photo editing. Basically, we go way beyond just the simple slider explanation, but yes, I of course show you all of that too. But I walk you through real edits, I break down my exact editing process, and I show you how to build your style and edit with confidence and actually finally, understand Lightroom on a whole nother deeper level. So if you ever felt like editing is like overwhelming, or you feel like your photos never quite match your true vision, or if you already got pretty solid experience but you want to take things to a new level, then my friend, this course is made for you. At the time of this recording, over like 100 photographers have taken this course, and I can confidently say that your editing skills will like dramatically improve in just about 30 days. And if not, I will like give you your money back. No questions asked. Anyway, there's a link down in the description down below, and yeah, it has more information. All right, so let's then get into the next tip, which is number 3. So in my opinion, one of the most common mistakes in editing is trying to force a photo to be something that it is not, especially when it comes to lighting. If the original photo was taken in flat overcast light, no amount of contrast or warmth is going to magically turn that photo into a golden hour. Of course, you can do a ton when it comes to photo editing, but there's only so much really that you can do. Instead, in my opinion, of like pushing against the light, I suggest that you lean into it. Ask questions like, what kind of light is in this image that I'm working with? Is it soft? Is it harsh? Is it like directional? And then you use your edit to enhance what's already there and not fake something that isn't. You understand? In my opinion, this is what makes your edit feel more like natural, more cinematic, and just more intentional in general. Because you're not editing to fix the light, you're editing to support it, shape it, and even take full control of it at times. Let me show you how. All right, so we are back in the Lightroom. It's cozy here, right? Sitting in the chair together, me and you, just having a good time. And what we are talking about is now how I try to take control of the light and shape it. For example, this photo right here, I made a bunch of different masks that made it go from this to this. There's a pretty stark difference. You have this to this. So basically what I'm doing, I'm opening up the middle a little bit and like where the subject is, which I think is like this run right here. And of course, thought to myself what I wanted the feeling to be. And I wanted it to be a little bit like warm and dreamy and a little nostalgic look. So I went for that. But anywho, here we have a like radial filter that I've just opened up the whites and shadows, bring a little bit of attention here. And then I've taken control of the foreground by darkening the foreground with this mask right here. We can do it like this. So you can see we have this foreground that is like darkening a mask, and it just helps making the foreground less noticeable. I've also added mask around here. Very, 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 very subtle, just like this. And you can see this is like brush, and you get this. Whoops, what am I doing? That Icelandic guy. I shouldn't be talking about me in third person like this. But anyway, while I have your attention, if you could smack that like button for me, it really helps me out. So we were here, and you can see that I added just very, 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 very subtle. I'm usually like zoom out of the photo so I can just use the feather, and basically I'm darkening. You can see here that I'm darkening these corners right here. And I did not go for this direction because, as you can see, and this is my little secret sauce, that I used two masks here, one mask here, and this mask, it helps like emphasize the light source. So the light source is coming in this direction right here, all right? The sun is here and this photo is side lit, all right? So then I put one radial filter in this direction to help emphasize the light. And I do that by creating it like this. I usually have it feathered out quite a lot. And then it's a game of taking down the dehaze and clarity. You can also play with the like temperature slider as well if you want to like further emulate that warm light. I didn't do it for this photo, but I have one like this, and then recently I've been creating another one that is more pointy and directional, just like this here, you see? And that one, very similar, but what I'm doing now, I'm just pointing the light ever so slightly more towards where it is. And then if you feel like you don't want this mask to like affect the entire thing, maybe you think this is unnatural that it goes over the shadow here too, what you can do then is that you can get really precise and start to do some dodge and burn. Either you can like right click or here on the mask here and go to minus and just take brush and like take it away from this spot. I think that looks a little bit unnatural often. So what I would do, I would just add a brush like this and have the flow all the way down. So taking the flow down so we're not adding as much of the effect. And then basically just take down up the contrast and a little bit down the exposure. Maybe the haze a little bit up because you took it down. And then you can just like ever so slightly paint there. Now this is a little bit exaggerated because I'm just showing you, but this would be the effect. So that now you can start to paint on the shadow areas as well to further enhance the mask. And this was obviously just for explanational purposes. That's the English word. But here, to show you this photo, here I'm also playing a ton with masks to shaping the light. So this is before and this is after. And just take a look at before, how flat this image is. But after, it's so much more three-dimensional. So what I did, I have masks here in the middle to help opening up. I'm also closing a little bit of the shadow here. I did not take this mask up here because we have the sun is in this direction, peeking down into the like fjord and is hitting these walls. And I thought if we were to like starting to darken these sides, I thought it would be a little bit unnatural. And then I have one mask up here with the same that we talked about before, just like so. And then another one more directional, just peeking down. And if you feel like you want to like help like make this mask a little bit more three-dimensional, you can, of course, like we talked about before, add a brush and start brushing into the shadows and just helping blend it better together into the environment, if that is what you want to. So yeah, editing isn't hard. I just think it's been framed wrong. And once you start to think in terms of feeling, intent, and light, in my opinion, everything just changes. But before you touch like a single slider, then just look at the photo and ask yourself, what is the subject here? What is the story and how can I support it? In my opinion, it's never been about finding or trying to find the perfect preset. It's about knowing what it is that you're trying to say, and then you're using editing to help you say it and help you create the photo and the vision that you're trying to put out to the world. You understand? And if you want to take this even further, I made a video breaking down 10 secret Lightroom tricks that the pros kind of never talked about, and some of these completely changed the way I edit. You can check this video out right here.